I found a queer church in New York and started going. And this young guy came to a service one day and I talked to him after and I said, "Where are you from?" And he mentioned that he was from this city in California that's like synonymous with conversion therapy. And he was this 24-year-old kid who had been in conversion therapy for 3 years. And hearing him tell his story, it was my story just 15 years later. And it broke my heart to imagine that it's still going on, that they're still saying the same things. Like I knew that conversion therapy hadn't gone away, but living in New York, I was just in a bubble, kind of isolated from it and didn't realize that it was as pervasive as it was. And so that's when I really felt the calling or like got the resolution that it was something that I wanted to bring into the world. Because if I can help one person not go through what I experienced, then all of the work will have been worth it.
Sometimes.
Just sometimes, the sequel is better than the original.
From setbacks to comebacks, this is Love Take Two. Let's go. Hola, Jose.
Hola, señorita Jamie. Let's talk about today's guest.
The interview. Have you guys noticed that I always make Jose introduce the guest?
And then I'm forced to put on my glasses because we want to get it right.
Yeah.
So today is actually really, really wonderful. So it's Timothy Schraeder Rodriguez. And what I find really fascinating with him is he spent nearly a decade in gay conversion therapy.
This is a really deep episode.
It is a deep episode. And it's something that I connect with in my personal relationship. So I can't wait for you guys to hear this. But he was working behind the scenes on some of the most influential evangelical megachurches. After embracing his identity as a gay Christian and stepping away from church work, he co-founded Church Clarity, an organization that helps queer people find affirming faith communities. And his work has been featured in Time, NBC, and the Washington Post. And he's the author of Conversion Therapy Dropout, a queer story of faith and belonging, which comes out in May.
Yeah, and it's here. We got signed copies.
Yes.
So y'all need to get the book.
As you can see, we definitely have a lot to unpack.
It's a great one.
This is fantastic.
This will give you all the feels, which we all need. We all need all the feels. Good to feel. My take two is working with a co-host that you gel with, that you get along with. It's so easy. It's been so easy. We're doing it so well together, and it feels so good. And it's like affirming that I can work with others.
Oh.
I'm just kidding.
Were you nervous at first?
Yeah, well, because I've had some bad experiences with people I worked with, but it's not me.
It's never.
No. And my takedown is having to reconnect with those that didn't go so well, which I had to do recently. Had to have some conversations with somebody I worked with in the past that I would prefer not to.
And to be clear, our co-host.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yes. And I would prefer not to speak with that. I went no contact. And I say very strongly take two to no contact for some instances. So there's that. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, so I'm so grateful for you. Take two on you.
Oh my gosh, I'm grateful for us too.
Yes.
My take two is to start reading again.
Oh, okay.
I don't read.
You don't read.
Like the last book I read, there was The Outsiders in 6th grade.
Okay, my daughter is reading that now.
And to be clear, at summer school, in order to make it to the 7th grade.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh my God.
But I did read Harry Potter when it first came out as an adult. But I haven't read in years.
Oh.
In years. A book. Like an actual book.
Okay.
So that's that.
Game of Thrones.
Oh, what do you mean? Like
read the Game of... Oh my God, Jose.
Really? Those are books?
Yes, I read the books first.
Oh, really?
I read oh my God, and they're so good. And you like sci-fi and stuff?
Yeah.
I feel like you'll like read Game of Thrones. They're long.
Okay.
They're a commitment.
Okay.
But you get so sucked in.
Okay.
So good.
My takedown are taking Lyfts and Ubers out of convenience. Like I'm ready to take it down because it cost me $70 to get here today.
Oh, because of surge pricing.
And it
They're really
takes
messing with
me
us.
less time to take the subway, but I get really lazy about walking up a hill, going into the subway. I'm always thinking about the
I
weather.
hear you.
But I'm like, you know what? I can't keep
I
spending
hear you.
all of this money on Lyfts and Ubers when it's only $2 and something cents for the subway. So I'm taking down the costs
Okay.
and of like Lyfts and Ubers. I can't do
Okay, I'll
it.
see
I
how
can't
you
do it. It's
do
too
next
much.
time I talk to you. I'll see how you're doing with that.
My friends used to call me like the $2 cab whore. They're like, because I would work in Chelsea
Mm-hmm.
and I would take a cab from 20th between 7th and 8th to 23rd and 10th.
Yes, you did. Of course you did, because
Yeah.
$2 cab whore. Oh my God, that's hilarious. So y'all, don't be a $10 cab whore this week, okay? Okay, let's not do that. But we want to hear yours. We want to hear your take two and take it down moments of the week. So if you are watching or listening on Spotify, you can add it to the comments. You can also slide into our DMs, as you will, on Instagram at Love Take Two Pod, or also on YouTube, Love Take Two Podcast. And you might have a little moment on the show if we like your take two or take down enough. We'll probably agree with all of them, especially
Although
the take downs.
Sometimes we disagree.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Let's bring Tim in.
Here we go.
Here we go. Roll it.
Let's go. Hello.
Hi, Tim.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming. We are very excited for this conversation.
We have Timothy Schraeder Rodriguez.
That's right.
Rodriguez.
Give us your love take two in 3 sentences.
Sure. So my love take one would be in my 20s and early 30s, I was working in evangelical Christian megachurches and going through gay conversion therapy.
Oh.
And then I had a bit of a nervous breakdown. I decided to drop out of conversion therapy. So my love take two was moving to New York City, coming out, learning how to live in my truth as a gay man, and becoming a writer.
That was amazingly done.
Thank you.
You really know your life.
I guess so. I hope so.
That's okay. So can we take it way back to
Yeah.
into your let's delve into that take one moment. You were in gay conversion therapy.
Mm-hmm.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Did you put yourself into gay conversion therapy, or was this something that was thrust upon you, so to speak?
I went into it willingly, which is a little bit different than some folks experience where they have their parents or another adult kind of push them in that direction. I opted into it, but it was definitely the result of the culture that I grew up in and the community that I was surrounded with living in the Midwest when I was a little kid. But it was a self-opt-in for me.
I have to tell you, I've been so excited to have you on here because I have a partner, Thomas. He also got himself into a conversion therapy type of group. It was called like My Bible Study. It was sort of like an under the radar type of thing, but that was the point. And he was part of a group with men, and he also put himself in it.
Wow.
And he's no longer. And
That's
he
cool.
struggled. He considers himself a Christian. I am not religious.
Mm-hmm.
And right now we are in the process of finding a church.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Because it's a piece of him that's still important to him.
Absolutely.
Community.
Yep.
And so I'm so fascinated that you're here because
Yeah.
I think it's going to help me and us.
I don't have religion either. I wasn't raised with religion.
You're
Well,
lucky.
I was raised in all of it, like
Oh, you were?
Catholic, Jehovah Witnesses, even Seventh-day Adventists. Like my immediate family was like family members and went through all different.
Interesting.
So that turned me off.
Oh, well,
Wow.
I was raised basically like to fight against religion, to like argue against it.
Yeah.
Then I met my wife, who's super from a super Catholic family, like priests and nuns, sisters, in like her aunts and uncles, and very Catholic. And I have learned to temper that and to be more accepting of religion because of my wife. So I have learned so much about acceptance and empathy and compassion to let people believe what they want, to let people be, right?
Yep.
Which
Let
is
people be.
let people be.
Yeah.
And it was a real big learning curve for me.
So you were in it for how many years?
I was in conversion therapy for 8 years.
8 years,
From the time I was 19 to 27.
I feel like we should dig into a little bit of your childhood just to get a sense of where
Absolutely.
you came from and how
Yeah.
you got to the place where you put yourself into
Yeah.
conversion therapy.
I grew up in Peoria, Illinois, small
Mhm.
town about 3 hours south of Chicago. I always felt like an outsider. And part of that was just being a queer kid in the making. The other was I was adopted. I was biracial, Mexican American. I was raised by a white evangelical Christian family and always just kind of never felt like I fit in anywhere.
At what age?
I was right when I was born.
Right when
As
you
a
Yeah, I was
newborn.
I was adopted at birth, but in a weird set of circumstances, my biological parents, the Rodriguezes, and my adopted parents, the Schraeders, were friends. And
I
so
see.
we all kind of knew each other. Well, there were enough people around that knew. And so I met my biological family for the first time when I was 9 years old, which was a crazy experience. And that could be like a whole nother podcast
Yeah.
episode of its own. But it was a really incredible experience to finally see people that kind of looked like me and that it's like I could look at my parents' faces and see my reflection. But that left me feeling like I never fully belonged to either family because in both families, I was the adopted one. And so oddly, church became the place that I felt the safest. It was this like stable community. It was this loving family. I went to one of those like evangelical Christian megachurches that was like a rock show and like the youth
Hillsong,
group.
right?
Yeah,
Okay,
Hillsong-esque. Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
sounds so fun. I've never
Yeah.
stepped foot in one, but when I
you
see
should.
the rock show, when I see the music, that's my jam.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I mean,
okay, let's sing.
it was this larger than life thing, and I loved it. It made me feel like I belonged. And so from a really early age, I thought that's what I wanted to be a part of for the rest of my life. And I was like, I want to be involved in the church. I don't know what that's going to look like, but that's the path I want to follow. And obviously, I was consciously aware that like what was going on inside of me was in direct conflict with that. And so my kind of bargain I made with God as a teenager was like, I'll commit my life to working in church and doing ministry if you will do the work that I hope you do in my life and make this all go away.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it just hurts.
Yeah.
And you believed
hmm
that this can go away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I mean, I didn't think I had any other option but to believe it. And kind of how I ended up in conversion therapy, a youth pastor that I had growing up moved his family from Illinois to Washington State. And he hit me up my senior year of high school, asked what I was planning to do. And I had said I wanted to work in churches or go to a Bible college. And he said, well, why don't you come and move to Washington with me and my family and you can work with me in my church. And I like leapt at the opportunity. And he taught me how to do graphic design and like how to do all these skill sets that today are like what I do professionally. So he really set me on this like trajectory, which was amazing. But things didn't work out between us. Like it was just kind of weird living and working with him. And so we mutually decided that I was going to go back home to Illinois. And a few days before I was scheduled to leave, he saw my internet search history and saw that I had been in gay chat rooms and confronted me with it. And it was like the most humiliating moment of my life, but also something that I had been praying for. Like I wanted to talk to someone about it and I was afraid to. And so it was such a relief to finally be able to like name that. And instead of getting a response from him that I thought might be compassionate or, wanting to help, he said, you've got to get out of here tonight. We can't afford to have you around. If people in the church find out, they might wonder if you did anything with the kids. Like it was this
Oh my
whole
God.
drama. And so our compromise was he dropped me off at this hotel by the airport in Portland, Oregon. And I was by myself for 5 days. And before he left, he said that I was broken, that I needed to pray for God to change me, that there was no place for people like me in the church. And it was awful.
You poor baby. I like the fact that you're even alive today.
Right.
I'm going to cry. Like that is so awful.
How old were you at
I
this
was
point?
19.
At
I was
you were
19. Oh my God.
19.
And so I did what I knew to do in that moment. And so I marched myself to this Christian bookstore, and there was this book that said it could help people learn how to be straight. And so I read that book cover to cover.
Was this a random bookstore or straight up like Barnes and Noble?
Oh, it was a
Christian.
Christian bookstore.
A Christian
Yeah.
bookstore,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course. Yeah.
I wouldn't even know where to find one of those.
Right. That's why I
Right.
asked.
Most of them are shut down these days, I think.
Yeah.
But
At least in New York City.
totally. I called the number in the back of the book to Exodus International, which was at the time the largest organization that promoted conversion therapy. They had over 500 ministries in 48 states and 17 countries. And I said, hey, I don't think I want to be gay. And they said, we can help you. And that began the 8-year journey.
Holy shit.
I don't mean to age you, but
Yeah.
I want to know the year.
That was 2002.
2002.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what's fascinating because when we think about conversion therapy, we think the 80s. I'm a Gen Xer, right? We think the 80s, we think the 90s.
No.
And it's just wild.
Well, and
It's
to your
wild to me.
point, in the case with your partner, it was a very underground thing for a very long time because it wasn't something the church was talking about.
Right.
But Exodus as an organization existed, and all of the ministries that were under its umbrella were all of these like under the radar. You had to it was very secretive. You would have to apply to join them. They didn't publish their address online. It was so secretive and underground. And that's the way it existed for a long time. But I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn that it's just as prevalent, if not more pervasive today than it was back then.
Well, especially now. I mean,
Yeah.
because for quite some time, the government denounced it, or it was a known thing that it's bad for you.
Yeah.
And it still is a known thing. However, now,
Yes.
in today's times,
Yeah.
they're like really trying to bring it back and
They
make
are.
it okay.
Yeah.
So they're coming out of the woodwork, it feels.
It is. And I feel like, too, just the political climate that we're in right now is just kind of emboldened folks to be more out and proud about trying to not be gay. And so we're seeing a proliferation of organizations that are really media savvy or leveraging social media, putting out really great videos that say, you don't have to be this way, or there's another way. And people are eating it up, which is crazy. And so now there's a case before the Supreme Court. It's a therapist in Colorado who is arguing it's her constitutional right and her free speech right to be able to do conversion therapy in therapeutic settings. And it's highly likely the court's going to rule in her favor, which would then roll back the bans that are in place in about 28 states right now. And currently, the bans only protect minors in therapeutic settings, but the practice is continued under religious grounds. So there's over 1,300 providers in 48 states currently that have been mapped that are actively doing conversion practices today.
Oh my God.
How do you?
Oh my God.
I think what comes up for me is, as a gay man who is not religious, I think part of the struggle is there's a lot of criticism, even from our own community. Why would you even bother with religion, knowing that they don't accept you? And it's something that Thomas and I have talked about, and I have to say, with everything that's happening politically, which is everything's a shit show right now. It's horrible right now. And one of the things that I say about Thomas, which I find really beautiful, and this is where I've been able to be okay with accepting even more of who he is, because the way that Christians are portrayed in the media right now, it's horrible, right? Because you have these far right, extreme, alt-Christian folks that are just spewing hate, and they're all being lumped into that category. But I look at my partner, Thomas, and I'm like, this man is living in the way that I imagine Christians are supposed to live their lives. Thomas cannot hurt a fly. Like, he can't. Man hardly swears. Whenever he swears, we're all like, wait, say it again. When recent events happened with Nicole Good, his whole body shut down. He actually, he went into the bedroom and his whole body shut down. And I'm like, that is what I've always imagined a good Christian man to be. He wants everybody around him to succeed. So I ask you, as a gay man, how do you reconcile that with God, right? I mean, you can separate church, religion, and your relationship with God, maybe. I don't know.
It's been a complicated journey, I'll say that. But when I quit conversion therapy, one of my friends who had been in conversion therapy with me said, hey, there's this conference we need to go to. It's called the Gay Christian Network Conference. It's called the Q Christian Conference now. But it was a gathering of queer people who were trying to navigate their faith and sexuality. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. I don't know if that's the path I want to go down. Like, I just got out of this mess. I don't know if I want to throw myself back into something. But he coaxed me to go, and I went. And it was so funny because I used to go to these huge conversion therapy conferences where there'd be like 1,200 people. And the whole vibe of the week was like not wanting to be who we really are, but just happy to be in community with each other.
Okay, but then does Grindr blow up during,
Well, when I was there, Grindr didn't exist because I'm
Gotcha.
older. But one quick note on that point that I think a lot of people might be interested to know is so to go to those conversion therapy conferences, you would have to take a week off of work. It costs about $2,000. Most of the time you'd be super secretive. Like my family never knew I went. I barely told any close friends I was going. Like if you showed up there, it was there because you meant business. And so you were very serious and believed that going there, you were going to find what you were looking for.
Right.
And so there was almost this like holy respect that we had for one another. But that doesn't mean that we didn't tan and do all the crest white strips and like go to Abercrombie or the Gap. Or, like, I mean, we were all like showing out because we wanted that acceptance and that attention. But I think there was just this little barrier between that and, you know, things. I mean, things did happen.
Of course.
But I would say most of us were there.
Well,
But then there's a lot of-
1,200 people, that becomes a numbers
It's
game.
going to happen.
But then, then there's a lot of shame. That,
Of course.
Then it's like compounded shame because you did it at the conference.
Totally.
So it's not like the but I'm a cheerleader vibe.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
they were like doing it, weren't they? I don't remember that movie. Do you remember
They
that
were.
movie?
They were.
They were doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had finished
Oh, the
with
church.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I go to this conference in Nashville, and there was a pastor there. His name was Tony Campolo. He's passed away since. But he was this advocate for queer people in the churches. And he said to us, you guys are at the front line of this fight. Like, you're going to go through it, but the church needs you. And the one truth he said that has stuck with me forever is the church may be a whore, but she's my mother. And if there's a way that I could encapsulate how I feel about the church and my relationship with it, it's that. Like, as much as I could want to distance myself or go no contact or set boundaries, like at the end of the day, the church is where I found meaning. It's where I found purpose. It's where I found connection to something bigger than myself, to community. And so I can try to run away from it, but it's always going to be a part of me.
That's where I feel like religion can be good for people.
Yeah.
Is it helps people, lost people perhaps, find purpose and meaning.
It's
Absolutely.
a guiding light.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, look at people like Bishop Marianne Buddy in D.C., the one who spoke to President Trump, and she's always on the front line speaking out for justice.
phenomenal.
And
Yes.
the pastors that are getting arrested at ICE protests and things like that. Like that to me is the church. That to me is love in action.
yes, it's the Mr. Rogers quote, look for the helpers
Yeah.
because they're there. The good ones are out there.
Absolutely.
We have to find the helpers.
Yep.
I would love to hear a little bit more about kind of your take one moment of being in conversion therapy. And
Yeah,
I'd love to hear that. And then the transition
sure.
out of it.
So, I was all in. I was in conversion therapy and working in churches.
And you didn't tell anybody in your outside life that you were doing this?
I started to let people in over time, but it was something that I kept really private for the first couple of years. And then in conversion therapy, just to kind of give people a window of what like really happens in conversion therapy, it wasn't like the electroshock treatments or like any of those dramatic things. Like it was talk therapy, which I needed. I had a lot of things going on in life, but everything that I said in those sessions was used as evidence against me as to why I was the way I was. So you're gay because of the adoption. You're gay because your parents had all
You're
of these.
broken.
Yeah,
You're
you're
just so
broken. And so
broken.
this is all why you are the way you are. And so their remedy was behavior modification. So learn how to lower your voice. Don't listen to music with
I
a
read
female
this.
lead.
Yeah.
Don't watch anything that celebrates the gay lifestyle.
That's
Don't wear
impossible.
Abercrombie or Calvin Klein because they sexualize men's bodies. So there was a huge focus on your external behavior. And then, obviously the internal part, praying for God to change you, praying for things in your life to get better. And so I followed that path for 8 years and was working in megachurches. And I sort of became this like evangelical Christian mini celebrity. I was good at social media and like digital marketing, and a lot of churches were really bad at that. So I helped
That's where
launch.
you came in.
Yeah, that's where I came in. And
Yeah.
so I helped start a website called Church Marketing Sucks. And I wanted to help the church get better, how it was messaging and doing all those things. And as I started to kind of rise in my Christian celebrity, my attraction and all these things that they said were going to be changing in my life wasn't. And I recognized that, but instead of thinking too hard about it, I just threw myself more into my work. I thought if I just work harder, if I keep busy, if I go all in, like it won't matter. But it all kind of came crashing down around me.
I read the article in Time magazine, and
Yeah.
it was fascinating. By the way,
Thank you.
Time, right? It's
Time.
amazing.
Epic,
Right.
crazy.
In there, you talked about how you started to realize that people knew who you were respected, right? But but then you realized you were more in the you were cool because you were more in the shadows,
Mhm.
right?
The churches valued the skills that I had,
Right,
but
right.
they didn't value me as a person.
That's right.
And so there was this acceptance of me in my wanting to not be gay, but they were very much against putting me up front on stage.
That's right.
I was never a public personality. I was always behind the scenes. I was the person behind the Twitter account. I was writing tweets for pastors like Joel Osteen and like some of the biggest pastors in the world, but nobody would have ever known that.
The church's success literally depended upon you.
Mhm.
I wonder how many shoulders the church stands upon, how many gay people's shoulders
yeah.
the church stands upon.
Yeah. Well, prime example, Hillsong Church, you mentioned them a little while ago. That was a church I worked at after I came out. That's a whole nother story. But, you know, they're one of the biggest churches in the world. Their music reaches everywhere. They're like Grammy Award winning. They sell out Madison Square Garden. Like they're this huge place. And when a conversation about my sexuality came up, my boss at the time pointed to a screen that was in the office we were in that was playing one of their church services. And he said, if every gay person in our church left, this would not happen.
Thank you. Standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unsung heroes
Yeah.
who are propelling this
Mhm.
machine forward.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wow.
What was a pivotal moment for you to
Yeah.
get out of that?
It was a low moment, but I had kind of been riding the Christian celebrity circuit. I had been speaking at conferences. I had a book deal going. I had all of these great things happening. And I was in this arena of like 25,000 Christian pastors and heard this pastor who was really popular at the time saying that God needed macho men and no more sissies, and we needed to stand for what was true and fight the gay agenda. And I mean, this was when gay marriage and those things were starting to kind of become a reality. And I just remember sitting in that room and thinking, if people knew the real truth of who I was, and I was admitting to myself, I know I'm not changing. I know I'm gay. I just want to repress it and don't want to talk about it or think about it. I knew that everything that I had built my life around would go away in an instant. And I came home from that trip and I didn't get out of bed for 5 days. And I had a nervous breakdown. And it was just the weight of realizing that I would rather die than keep living life the way that I was living. I would say that was probably the closest I ever came to wanting to end my life. But some friends who were concerned, who hadn't heard from me in a few days, like came to my apartment, banged on the door, found me in the state I was in, and took me to see a doctor. And the doctor was a gay man. And he's like, what brings you in today? And I was like, well, and I just let it all out. I was like, you know, I've been in conversion therapy for 8 years. I know it doesn't work. I feel like my life is over. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, and I kind of started to have a panic attack. And he just put his hand on my shoulder. And I was like, you're going to be okay. You've got this. And that's when I knew it was time for me to drop out of conversion therapy and see if there was another way of living life.
Whoa.
Yeah. And I bet when you were sharing that with the doctor, I mean, because everything manifests in your body too, right?
Yeah.
It was just sort of this release, but draining and exhausting.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
You realized physically how much you were holding in.
Yeah. And I also realized I had been living in a state of panic and anxiety for 8 years. I was constantly moderating myself, second guessing myself. Like what they taught us in conversion therapy is like, whatever is your first thought, whatever comes to you naturally, like whatever your first instinct is, that's wrong. Don't trust it. And so I had to relearn all over again how to trust my instinct and how to listen to my body and how to really like embrace who I was and not try to fix everything or second guess myself.
How has this affected your relationship with men? And I'm speaking from experience from being with Thomas, because one thing I've been very open about this on social, where he's such a incredible human being. Everything is there. He's beautiful. He's handsome. He is so amazing with my 3 kids. He's gentle, all the things. But we struggle with intimacy. And it is attached to shame.
Yeah.
And it's something we're in couples therapy for, and we're trying to work through that. It's been a year that we've been in couples therapy, and we are still working through it, and it's slow. So I'm curious from that perspective.
I've been out of conversion therapy now for 15 years, and I still am dealing with the long-term residue of it. And one of the areas that's the biggest challenge is trust. and trust is foundational to relationships. And so that has really impaired my ability to form lasting relationships romantically. It's hard for me to trust people. It's hard for me not to feel like love is conditional or that it's dependent on me being a particular way. And so, I mean, that's something my therapist and I are working through right now. Like, it's been a challenge for sure.
I just want to keep going down the kind of the timeline because I want to hear about getting out and how it was. And I want to hear all of the details of the transition.
Totally.
You know?
After I went to see the doctor, I knew that I needed to make some changes in my life. And the first thing I did was move to Boys Town, Chicago's gay neighborhood.
Yes, you did.
I was like, well, I came out when I was like 28, 29, so I'm going to make up for lost time. So I moved to Boys Town because I was kind of known at that point as a little bit of an ex-gay poster child. I had shared my testimony in front of my church, and by the time I had come out, a lot of people knew my story. And so because of that, I knew a lot of people that were in the same boat as me. And so I reached out to all of them and was like, hi, I think all of us are probably trying to figure this out, what this means, what this looks like. And I put together like a little group. We got together, every weekend, and we called ourselves the Lost Boys. And we became this like chosen family. And we were all conversion therapy dropouts or folks that were trying to navigate how to integrate our faith and sexuality. And so we really kind of grew up together and experienced a lot of our gay firsts together, navigated through first hookups and understanding what we liked sexually, like all those things. Like it was just this like crazy little group of friends that were such a huge help to me as I was navigating all of that. But at the same time, I was still working in churches, which is kind of weird. But I needed a check. I had a skill set. And most of these churches were willing to hire me because I was a contractor. My life wasn't under a microscope. I wasn't having to sign these like morality clauses. So I could keep doing work that was important to me. And also I thought that the only way that things were going to change for queer people in the church is if queer people stayed in the church. And so if me working in those spaces as an openly gay man could help change people's perspectives or view of queer people, then like I saw it as my calling to stay there and like fight the good fight. I continued on that path for about 6 years. And then in 2016, it was the combination of the Pulse Orlando shooting happening and the church being largely silent about that when they would give thoughts and prayers for nearly everything else. And then the 2016 election, I realized that for my own sake and my own soul and my own relationship with God, that I needed to move away from the church and transition my career and life elsewhere.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
My cousin was in the Pulse Club and got shot.
Oh my God.
And he was hospitalized. He was in there for months. He's good. He's good now.
God.
Oh my God.
I remember at that time being very frustrated, coming from a Latino community, coming from very Catholic heavy.
Yeah.
It's like nobody from the church anywhere is saying anything about this.
Oh, and to that point, so I was managing social media for quite a few churches at that point when that happened. And anytime there was a tragedy or anything, in the world was going on, I had a protocol I would follow. I'd be like, hey, pause whatever you're posting, like blah, 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 blah. Here's suggested guidance. Here's what you should post. And I remember writing the suggested post and even like giving them some safe options that didn't say we're praying for the LGBTQ community, but just like praying for Orlando, praying for what's happening, like not even mentioning the queer community as a part of it. And not a single pastor posted anything.
Wow.
And it was just not one. And it was heartbreaking. Like, I was like, I've given my life to this. You know me. Like, they knew who I was and what I was about. And the fact that they couldn't even offer a simple thoughts and prayers for my community when we were hurting.
We haven't touched upon your family and like how your family took you, deciding to live your truth.
Yeah.
And then now B, where you're going to go next.
It's been complicated. My family, I love them. I'll say that. And I still have a relationship with them. But there are just parts of my life that we don't talk about. And there are just things that we don't discuss. And politics and my sexuality are those two things. And that's difficult.
Two very big things.
Yeah, it's difficult. But my siblings, all of my siblings are incredibly supportive.
That's good.
I have 11 nieces and nephews. They all know me as Gunkle Tim. Like,
Mm.
I have love and support there. And I love my parents. And both sets of parents, for their own reasons, think it's something wrong that they did that I ended up the way that I did. And I just have to constantly remind them that, like, no, I am who I am because this is how God made me. And we might not agree on that, and we might not see eye to eye on that, but I'm not going to let that be the thing that cuts off our relationship. So
Mm.
it's just sort of this, we don't go there. But
Yeah.
And this is why chosen family is
So important in
absolutely,
our community.
absolutely.
God, if people could just see it as a superpower, I mean, that's what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
It's a superpower. It makes us
Yeah.
better human beings.
I agree.
I want to read this part from Time Magazine, which you said, conversion therapy sells a promise of transformation, but what it really delivers is a slow disintegration of the soul. You learn to measure your worth by how well you can pretend. You learn to call shame devotion.
Mhm.
And you learn that love has conditions, which is what you were just talking about
Yeah.
trust
Yep.
and love.
It crosses all of the wires in your brain.
Yeah.
And it attaches shame to what feels natural, fear to what we should embrace. Like, it's all of this. It's terrible what it does to a person. And I think for me, the long-term effect that I didn't realize until later was that I was an alcoholic. You know, coming out and entering into the gay world at 30, like, I went all in and I went hard. And I think that I became dependent on alcohol because, one, it helped me overcome the pain of the community that I lost.
Mhm.
And it helped me feel okay in this new community where I felt like an outsider and this, like,
And also so
awkward-
much repressed shame.
yeah. And it took me a long time to finally connect. And it wasn't until I moved to New York in my Love Act 2 that I realized that my addiction was so correlated to what I had experienced in the response to the trauma that I went through in conversion therapy.
Wow. Let's get into that.
Yeah.
So
Good segue.
let's get into where we're at now. We're in take 2, baby.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's going smashingly. We have books in front of us
Well,
Wild.
that are going to be signed by you, which we're so excited about.
Yes.
well, I do want to talk about this book, but I want to talk about the image on this book.
It is the cutest.
And I
It's perfect.
am not kidding. I promise you, this is the truth. I am not kidding when I tell you I have made the decision that I need a copy of this actual photo and I want to blow it up and I want to hang it in my house somewhere. I promise you on my children, I look at
So
this photo.
cute, because it says so much.
I was this effeminate boy growing up. I was raised by a father who was a Marine,
Mm,
firefighter,
mm,
turned into a drug dealer addict. And the amount of times he called me a faggot growing up, stop acting like a faggot. I remember I was heading towards the bedroom one day and he tells me, come here. And I walk back. He goes, turn around. I turn around and he slaps my ass and says, now stop, walk like a man, not like a faggot. And I
my
look at this
God.
photo. I'm like, this is me.
mm.
And I love that it says macho on it.
So
when
you're
I
wearing
tell
a
you-
macho, it says macho. Like,
But
because
I will
it's-
blow this up and
because
I
you
will hang
really
this somewhere
are-
in my house.
I mean, you are so fabulous
Oh,
in your
thank
macho
you.
shirt. It's so cute.
Just working it.
Just working it.
But
And I just want to say,
yeah.
you can say that word because you're gay. I just want to say that.
yes.
Yes.
And quoting my dad. I mean,
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, we got to keep it real.
But let's talk about this book. Like, why did you feel the need to
Mm,
do this? I mean, we all hear why the need is there, but
mhm. I didn't want to write it.
Mm.
I've always wanted to be a writer, and I had a lot of other things that I thought I would write first. And as I got sober, there's a part in recovery literature that says we'll no longer wish to shut the door on the past, but we'll see how our experience can help others. And it was not lost on me that, most recovery meetings in New York take place in church basements.
Mm.
And the first time I went to a recovery meeting in person, it was a queer meeting. So I was in a church basement with all queer men, learning how to stay sober by having a relationship with God. And I was like, this is weird. I've kind of been in this situation before, but this is very different. And it was a part of my life I didn't talk a lot about it. I mean, it's kind of a buzzkill. Like,
What, the drinking?
oh, sorry, conversion therapy.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I don't talk about conversion therapy openly. I didn't. But something about being in recovery and just being able to lay out everything about your life, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just starting to see other folks respond to it and other people that I met through recovery that said, yeah, I went through that too. I was like, maybe there's something to this. And I took a writing class and I just thought I'd test out what it would be like to become a writer. And as I started to write, all that came out was the conversion therapy story and all of that. And most of my class was secular New Yorkers, no religious background. And so like, I remember the first time I submitted a piece of writing for my class to read, I was like, these people are going to think I'm nuts. Like, I was embarrassed. Like,
Really?
it was scary because it's just it's a weird thing to talk about, like going on a first date. Yeah, I was in conversion therapy. Like, it's a weird thing to bring up. But their response to what I wrote and their response to everything that I wrote, in the coming weeks in the class were just like, you've got to do this. You've got to tell this story. And at the same time, I found a church that I go to here in New York, and it's got tons of queer people, and I love it. I found a queer church in New York and started going, and this young guy came to a service one day, and I talked to him after, and I said, where are you from? And he mentioned that he was from this city in California that's like synonymous with conversion therapy. And I was like, you weren't. And he was like, I was. And he was this 24-year-old kid who had been in conversion therapy for 3 years. And hearing him tell his story, it was my story just 15 years later. And it broke my heart to imagine that it's still going on, that they're still saying the same things. Like, I knew that conversion therapy hadn't gone away, but living in New York, I was just in a bubble, kind of isolated from it, and didn't realize that it was as pervasive as it was. And so that's when I really felt the calling, or like got the resolution that it was something that I wanted to bring into the world. Because if I can help one person not go through what I experienced, then all of the work will have been worth it.
And help yourself too.
Oh,
I can imagine
yeah.
It was cathartic.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the crazy things, I kept everything from conversion therapy, all of the journals, all of the notebooks, all of the books that I used to read and highlight. The book that I bought in Portland when I was 19, I had all of it. And I carried it around like a black box. Like, it was always just like in the back of the closet. And I'll never forget the first time I cracked it open and just started to read what I wrote as a 19, 20, 21-year-old. Like, it was absolutely devastating and heartbreaking. But it gave me more drive to go for this. And I mean, I absolutely wrote this book with the help of my therapist. I would like work on a chapter, send it to him. We would go back and forth and like work through it. But it was an incredibly healing experience to make something good out of what it was a really horrible situation.
What a story, Tim.
Thank you.
I mean, this is obviously going to help so many people, and hopefully not have them, save time to get to that place where they find peace and they feel whole and complete.
Also, maybe help people just understand.
Yeah.
Just not necessarily closeted
Correct.
gay people. Just help the world understand what this actually does. Because the narrative is, they're trying to spin a whole nother narrative about it here, like freedom to, oh my God.
Or that like we're wounded, or that we are who we are because of trauma that's happened to us.
We're broken. We're broken. I am not broken. I'll tell you that much. I am not broken.
I think also it's good because I think there is this gap that's missing in our community, which is there is a world where we can find peace with your religious beliefs and still be whole with who you are.
Absolutely.
I've told Thomas that I'm not religious. I have lots of issues with the Bible and all the things, but I can absolutely go to church with you and sit there for an hour and be grateful for all the things that I have in my life.
Yeah.
And I will support you in that.
Yeah.
I love when they preach about, their own personal inspiring stories, right? When I hear inspiring stories that are taken from everyday life, like I can take all of that and I can sit in church and be at peace with that. I'm not, Thomas doesn't like when I say, am I sizzling at the shoulders? Am I burning?
That's how I was raised.
But I think that's what's really beautiful about what you're bringing to the table, something that is just not there. Because I think it's either, no, get out of religion. This is what happened when I went to conversion therapy. Or
you don't get a relationship
with God.
Right.
Or like myself, I got turned off from it completely.
Absolutely.
Or you stay in it and then you just are closed up and not your true self. And there's a middle ground. That can still be at peace. And I think that's really beautiful.
You can be who you want to be.
Yeah.
And we're all created perfectly. We're perfect.
Yeah. One of the things the Bible says, I mean, that's a weird thing to say, but is that we're fearfully and wonderfully made.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe that God makes mistakes. I don't think that just applies to straight people. That applies to everyone. And I believe that's true of all of us.
Mm-hmm. You do you, boo.
Amen.
What is something that, let's say, 8-year-old Timothy would be shocked to see if he had a window into Timothy now? What is something little Timmy would be shocked about?
That he made it to New York. Even when I was a little kid, I was obsessed with New York City. Like, I loved Home Alone 2. I watched the Today Show, the movie Big Business with Bette Midler and Lily Tomlin. I just had all of these grand visions of New York City. And there was something in me at that young age is I'm going to end up there someday.
Yes.
And here I am.
Touched by an angel.
Schraeder Rodriguez, of course. I think we're due for a reboot.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, take two.
That takes down conversion therapy.
Yes. Come on.
Bette Midler.
She needs does she need? She needs to take two. I need to see her on Broadway again. I saw her in Hello Dolly, but I need to see her again on Broadway.
I need her to step it up and come back.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kirk Cameron.
Oh, God. Take down. And his sister.
Take them both down. Take them all the way down.
Oh, my gosh.
The worst.
Gosh.
God. Well,
Who knew?
Who
I mean,
knew?
I kind of had a crush on him when he was on
So did
Growing
I.
Pains.
I think I had a poster of him.
Yeah, I would have if I would have been allowed to.
I had such a crush on him.
Yeah.
We all did, even the lesbian in the room. And how dare he?
Yeah.
How dare he be the person he turned out to be and his sister?
It's shocking.
Goodbye.
Shocking.
Take him down. Thank you for coming. And tell folks the book. It comes out
May 5th.
May 5th.
Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah,
There will be queso.
Can folks pre-order it?
Yeah, you can pre-order it at any bookseller. Please support local independent bookstores, though.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
Conversion Therapy Dropout. Go get it. Go pre-order it.
Timothy Schraeder Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you. This has been great.
Yeah.
You rock.
You too.
Well, folks, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for tuning in.
And make sure you're following us, subscribing, and liking on all of the social media.
Write us a little review, rate it, do all the things, and make sure to follow us.
Yes, it's at
Love Take Two Pod. That's Love Take Two Pod. Do all the things. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time.